Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me. Yes, I'm wearing my robe. Yes, I have Rory McIlroy's round 4 scorecard above me. I want to talk about one of those things, and it's not my robe. I came into this week pretty anti-Rory. I don't know where that came from, but I've never been a monster fan of him. It's just been a bias that I've had, and I never really thought about addressing it. There are golfers I don't care for specific reasons. Rory's just one of those guys I never really enjoyed watching or was excited about or rooted for whatever reason. And so today I want to talk about his round 4 at the Masters. I want to talk about what ended up happening afterwards. I want to talk about Rory McIlroy, my views on him, the state of maybe the media as it relates to sports, just kind of a grab bag about everything that's on my mind after this event. Because truth be told, as you guys know, I love sports. I love talking about sports, and I'm always fairly fascinated by the psychology. My wife is asking if the dogs ate, and so I should probably respond. I'm just fascinated by the psychology of sports, and maybe I missed my calling in the sports psychology field. I don't know if it's not important. But I have this platform now, and I want to talk about anything and everything that came of the Masters today. So if you're not familiar with the situation, Rory McIlroy has been chasing what's called the Grand Slam. That is winning the 4 major events in golf. Think of it as if golf has 4 Super Bowls, every year. There's only like 6 or 7 guys who have won all 4 of the highest caliber golf events in their career. Okay, Tiger being the last to do it in 2000. So we're in 2025. Nobody's done it since. Not even some legends that you guys are familiar with. And so Rory has been chasing it. He's had 3. He won 3 very early in his career, and then for the last 11 or 14 years, I'm getting hot. So we're going to take this off. For the last 11 or 14 years, he's been chasing the win at the Masters, and he hasn't been able to do it. And of course, people are like discussing it and is Rory ever going to do it? Oh, he can't. He doesn't have the mental willpower. It's just everybody has a reason to why Rory hasn't been able to pull this off. And so he comes into this week with that on his mind. They talk about it every year, and I don't know the specifics, but I believe after round 1 or round 2, he was 7 back of the lead. I think after round 1, he was 7 back. And he played his way back into it over the last 2 rounds to a position where he had, I believe, a 2-stroke lead coming into today over Bryson DeChambeau. And on the very first hole, with a 2-stroke lead, Rory McIlroy double bogeyed, right? And if I'm Rory in that moment, knowing that I have been chasing this one win for the last decade, knowing that when people look at my legacy, they are going to point back to not the fact that I won 3 major events. They're going to point to the fact that I did not win 4. They're going to be more concerned about my 17 losses or more at the Masters. This was his 17th time playing at the Masters. They're going to be more worried about those losses than the wins that I had. And until today, and obviously he wins, and I'm stringing ahead in the story, seeing his emotion at the end, which we will talk about. For the first time in my life, and that's maybe an exaggeration, but I felt that a superhuman athlete was so very human. And you look at these athletes as if they are not you and me. And I don't know if that's just my own personal bias, but they're put on a pedestal. They can do things that normal people, can't do. Like, it's what makes them so grand. And so we think because they are so grand, they cannot be human. And, I never stopped to think from Rory's perspective, what would it be like to have everybody talking about your shortcomings is really what it boils down to. Talking about how, he's done X, Y, Z, but he can't do A, B, and C, right? He can't do MASTERS. And So anyway, so he double bogeys hole 1. And I want to say Bryson either hits it or pars it. At that point, again, I'm going to be misremembering some of the details, but at this point, it swung the other way. And Bryson and him were tied, I believe. And then the next hole, he pars, and I believe Bryson birdies. So Rory goes down a shot. So here you are, 2 holes in. You have 16 holes to go. And all I would be thinking is, oh, he can't do it. Oh, here he goes again. Oh, he's going to fail one more time. Oh, he just can't get it. Oh, pressure was too much. Oh, he was so nervous. And maybe that's why I'm sitting here and I'm not on tour and I'm not doing X, Y, or Z, because in some capacity, I have a pretty strong mental, but in a lot of others, like, I'm pretty weak. And in that moment, when your haters are winning 2 holes in, it's hard not to be weak. He bounces back. Hole 3 and hole 4, he birdies. I believe at this point, because of some mishaps from Bryson. No, not yet. He was pretty good. So he responds. The point is, he responds. Okay, it continues on, and at some point he goes up 3 or 4 on Bryson. I think around hole 10, and then he bogeys. And at this point, Justin Rose is starting to make some putts, so he's sneaking up. And Rory is obviously aware of that. Bryson had fallen a decent amount, and so it kind of wasn't in question anymore. He pars 12, and then on 13, notice it's a par 5. Rory's bread and butter. One of the best, if not the best, par 5 player in the entire league, the nation, the association. He hits a drive well. He lays up short of the water that's on 13 in order to have a surefire shot, third shot, onto the green to putt par, because he doesn't have to do anything fancy. I believe he has a 3 or 4 shot lead at this point. And he lays up, and then he hits the worst shot of his life. And the announcers, usually announcers are careful with how they speak about things. And the announcers were just like, that's inexcusable. You cannot fathom Rory hitting a shot like that. So he hits it in the water after laying up to avoid hitting it in the water. And he goes on to make a 7. And then, at this point, I think, depending on how it all looks, Justin Rose, again, was sinking birdies. And it was getting very close between them. So then on 14, he goes on to bogey. And I don't exactly remember what occurs on that hole, maybe just a missed putt. But at this point, I believe Rose is on 16 and he hits a pretty decent putt, a pretty uphill birdie putt to take the lead. Okay? He takes the lead. And so now Rory is staring at a par 5 with 3 other holes remaining down when he was up 4 strokes not 3-4 holes ago. And you thought the pressure from hole 1 and hole 2 was a lot. I'm telling you what, this is where it stood out to me. Because it's obvious that the pressure, the nerves were getting to him. If pressure and nerves weren't getting to him, you don't see a 7 on 13. There is, I would wager that there is no other reason he gets a double bogey on one of the easiest holes on the course for him, unless he is not controlling what's between the ears, right? And how could you blame him? Because the pressure of the world, the pressure of the narrative has accumulated as much as it has for the last decade, right? And so you're so close, and it's hard to keep all that in. It takes a literal robot to do that. Rory is human. And for a long time, I didn't realize Rory was human. So he double bogeys, then he bogeys, then he comes back on this shot. And in his second shot, his drive was behind a tree a little bit. And when I tell you, you're going to see maybe that second shot that he hit on there, I got a marker on my thumb, for years, up around a tree, lands it on the green, has an eagle putt. A phenomenal golf shot. And with the pressure of the world on you, you're +4 in the last 4 holes. You've lost your lead. You're actually down a stroke. And it would be very easy to tuck your tail and say, well, Rory can't do it again. He hits one of the best shots of his life, and he puts himself in position to eagle it. He misses the eagle putt. He taps in for birdie. And I believe at this point, he either went up by 1 or he tied. Okay. And then 16, he ends up parring. And yeah, I think he's even with him right now. Yeah, he's even with him right now. They're even. Okay. So then on 17, and now Rose had already finished. So they're both minus 11 at this point, and going into 17. And Rory, again, good drive. Or wasn't good drive. It was a good drive. And he goes to his second shot and he's like doubting the club. He doesn't know which club to use. He says, I don't know if this is going to give me enough. I don't know if this is too much. And he kind of backs off of it. And he hits a great shot. And he knocks in the birdie putt, which means he's winning. Which means Rory McIlroy is one hole away from winning the Masters and thus winning the Grand Slam, being the first person to do it since Tiger. And you're telling me Rory's not thinking about this stuff? So he approaches 18. I would be shaking on that tee box. He struck it perfectly, quite literally perfectly. The announcers were saying it. So all you have to do is hit a 125-yard shot into the middle of the green. Rory does that 99 times out of 100. But the pressure is a lot. The narrative's a lot. And Rory mishits it, doesn't commit, gets the nerves, gets the yips, gets the wiggles. Can you say yips? Is that, I don't know if that's politically correct. I don't know what it means, but it just, when I say it, it doesn't sound quite right. I need to look that up. He hits it into the sand. Wide open green. A shot he makes 99 times out of 100, and he hits it off into the sand. So now you got the pressure. You got to get up and down from here to get your par to win the Masters. He gets up and he leaves himself about 4 feet. Now you have 4 feet to win the Masters. The weight of the world is on you, as it was here, and you failed, but you came back. As it was here, that you failed, and you failed again, but you came back, and you came back again to lead, right? It's just the ebbs and flows of this Masters, if you were watching live, was insane. Watching Rory get down and think, is this it? Like, is all the things true? Are the narratives correct? And then he would hit a shot. He'd hit a putt. He'd make the chip. Oh, maybe he is going to win. Oh, nope. So he gets that 4-foot putt, misses the 4-footer. Doesn't give it enough steam. Misses the 4-footer, doesn't hit it hard enough. Taps in for bogey, which puts him at minus 11 to tie with Justin Rose to go into a playoff. So now it's very hard to not mentally lose in that instance, because you were 4 feet away from winning. In fact, you were winning. I mean, at hole 10, I don't know what his live odds were. Had to be somewhere above 95% chance to win the golf tournament. And you have a 120 yards shot to make 3 strokes, which he's going to do 99 times out of 100. And in 125 yards, he makes 4 strokes to get about, like, it was just like this all day long. And so he's go to a playoff. Now, Justin Rose has been warming up on he's been at the range, the putting green, since he finished up. So Justin Rose is loose and ready to go. And I cannot imagine that Rory was anything but tense and exhausted, mentally, physically, right? Just had all of this occur, up and down, ebbs and flows, back and forth, watching the scoreboard, hearing the cheers from 40 yards that, like, all of this while the pressure on the event, all the weight of this is on him. So he goes, he signs a scorecard. He heads back to the 18th where the playoff hole is. They both hit amazing drives. And Rose is a little shorter. So Rose hits his second shot into the green, and it trickles back down the hill. He's got about a 12 to 15 footer for birdie. A putt that he's been making all day long. So one that you saw and you thought, oh, Justin Rose is going to win the Masters. Rory's not going to win the Masters because Justin Rose is going to hit that shot, or Rory's going to get the, don't say yips, get the heebie-jeebies again, the wiggle tiggles. That doesn't sound great either. And something's going to go wrong. Roy steps up to it. He said in his post-game interview, I don't know if you want to call it that it was about 2 yards distance from where his shot from the sand was. Like, it was almost identical. And he said 3/4 quarter swing with a gap wedge, commit to it, and it should be the right club. And he hits it, and he lands it about where Thomas's ball ends up, but he rolls it back closer to about 3 feet. Whoa. All of this against you, up and down, ebbs and flows, the weight of the world, the eyes of the world, sports media, and your opponent just hits the shot of his career life, a good shot, we'll just call it a good shot, does Justin Rose, and puts all the pressure back on you, and he hits it better. Justin Rose ends up missing his putt, leaves it a little short as well, taps in for par, meaning if Rory hits it, he wins. He took his time. Again, like I am at my local course, walking 18, and I'm about to break 85, and I got a 3-footer, and I'm shaking, and nobody's watching. This, I don't want to be dramatic, but this is his career. This was his legacy in some ways. Sure, he's going to probably have 5 or 6, 7, 10 more Masters. I don't know how many. Quite a few, I imagine. But he could have won it later. But for this example, this is a lot on the line. And he had just missed a putt slightly longer to win. And he'd not made a lot of putts all day. And everybody's watching, and he strikes it, center cup, Masters champion. And I'm sure you've seen the clips. But he throws his putter, falls to his knees, shaking. My daughter was watching. She's like, "Is he crying, Dad?" I'm like, "I believe he is." And she was like, "Why is he crying?" I was like, "Well, he's not sad. He's just relieved. He's exhausted. He's happy." I said, "He's feeling a lot of stuff, but he's not sad. I can tell you that. He's not sad." And Rory gets up, shakes the hands of hugs his caddy. I mean, that hug. I felt that hug. I mean, the embrace between him and his best friend, his caddy, was magnificent. Goes over, congratulates Justin Rose, shakes his hand. And my daughter goes, is he crying again? I'm like, I believe he is. Well, why? Well, he just won something that was very important to him, and part of it maybe was the fact that my daughter was able to recognize the emotion of him. Like and it's hard to explain without the dynamic, but like she'll watch sports with me and she'll care from time to time, but she's not like on the couch, like engaged with it, at her age. And so like, it was interesting that she noticed and asked, I guess is kind of how I'm looking at it. Because she recognized that it was maybe unusual. And that he was feeling a lot, right? And she was curious about those feelings. And so it was just very hard to hate Rory, or even close to that in that moment. And it made me look at myself and say, you're kind of a contrarian at times. You like to take the road less traveled in terms of the arguments. Patrick Mahomes is overrated. I've said that quite a few times. I don't like Rory. I don't like Bryce. And it's like, it was a good reminder for me to see that these dudes are just dudes who feel pressure, who feel emotion, who feel what we think they're immune to every day. And when a lot of pressure is put on you and you are able to perform, what a relieving feeling that is. So, he hugs everybody on the way back to the clubhouse, signs his card, goes in. I thought his post-game interview was like exceptionally done. I think it told the story perfectly. Jim Nance was there, another gentleman who I should definitely know, maybe the pro, I don't know who it was. I should know that. Head of golf, I don't know who he was. Old guy with a green jacket. Scotty Scheffler was there because he won last year. And I just think it was handled, it was just a perfect moment. Scotty stepped back. All the attention was on Rory. Scotty didn't, bring any attention to himself, which I think is like classy of him. He put the jacket on him. He immediately got out of the shot, immediately got out of the room. Scotty understands what this moment was. And I think it took me a long time. And it took me until that moment to realize how big that moment was. Because again, you hear all these accolades. We talk about accolades all the time in sports. And so they all kind of mesh together. Like there's always, everybody's breaking a record. Everybody's setting a statistic. Like we're just, whew. And so you hear Rory Grand Slam, and it's like, okay, yeah, cool, right? Like it's another cool record. But to see what that record meant to him outshined your typical record, maybe is how I can best say it. It was less about the record being achieved and the Grand Slam achieved, and more about Rory releasing a burden that in some ways I think he imposes on himself, but in a lot of ways is magnified by the opinions of the media. And here I sit with a microphone and a platform, and it just makes me think in this position. Like, obviously, Rory McIlroy is never going to hear, like, none of these athletes are ever going to hear my opinion about them. But it was a good reminder to be intentional about what I put out in this space in some ways, because seeing how much it meant to him to not only win, but to get the burden off was like, whoa, like that, the pressure, he was feeling that. And he said so. He said, what are people going to talk about next year? I thought it was hilarious. But also, he recognizes that he's exhausted from the conversation. He thanked his parents. Jim Nantz asked him about the tears. He started crying again. He's like, I can't wait to go talk to my parents, which I think is so unique as well. And I don't know the whole story there, but I think his parents did a lot to obviously get him into golf, put him in a position to excel at golf, give him opportunities to golf. Like, they cultivated his passion. And I think he realizes in that moment that none of this is possible without them. And so it was cool and humbling to see him break down and just say, like, I kind of owe it to my parents. Which I think is humble, and I think is good for him to say those things, and to be able to be emotional, and to be able to be honest, and to be able to say, I'm not human. I don't have the ability to remove myself and just play golf. Shut up and dribble, right? Shut up and swing. Like, I can't. I am a person with real beliefs and real emotion and a real mind. So I'm repeating myself, but one of the coolest sporting events, intense, meaningful, memorable, captivating, that I've seen in a number of years. And I'm glad I was able to watch it unfold in the way it did. And I think it does make the story even more impactful. People are going to say Rory won the Masters, but they're going to forget that he double bogeyed the first and double bogeyed and bogeyed in the last two. Like, there's more to just the Grand Slam. And Rory, as a human, is at the center of that. And I think that was a cool lesson I learned today. And you probably didn't learn it. You probably already knew that, but I'll catch up to you guys soon. We'll see you next time. I love you.